Good afternoon. My name is Scott Rutherford, Chief Strategic Officer at T3Live.com. Welcome to today's recap and look ahead.
观众朋友们，大家好，欢迎收看今天的直击美股，我是主持人张舒，现在正在纽约的演播室向您问好。周二美股收跌，我们看到在一个星期内，美股的三大股指纷纷的创了2次的历史新高之后，今天市场是有些回调，并且一部分投资人是兑现了他们的一个收益。而在明天，我们将会迎来美联储上一次会议纪要，这也是当前影响市场的一个非常重要的因素。总的来说，我们看到今天电信板块是有一个下跌了幅度是达到了1.5%，但是包括像能源板块，由于原油期货价格的一个回涨，也是今天提振市场的一个主要的因素。好的，更多的消息就和我一块来看一下今天的交易员访谈。Hi Scott. Today when we came into the market, we had a little bit headwind from the overall market. For example, the Shanghai and also Hang Seng closed down. So how do you think about the overall market?
I think the overseas markets are still trending to the upside off the lows, so with a little bit of a down day, not the biggest deal.
Okay.
I like to show you what goes on overseas because everything is so global and our markets are dictated somewhat by what goes on in China. And we've been following the Hang Seng very closely, and we could trade the FXI here for cash flow and for swing trades. If you want to look back at the FXI, last year we had a big call for a big move above resistance, and you did have that parabolic move, but then once it traded below the 8 and 21 day, that's when you had to sell it. And then once it got below the 200 day, basically, it was on the do not touch list while it accumulated. But then what happened here is it broke this downtrend, reclaimed the 200 day, and if you look close up, we've had a really nice trend off the lows, which a lot of people have been taking advantage of. So what does that mean? That means you have a series of higher lows, okay, where you could be buying the dip. Low, higher low, higher low. And right here, we took back the 200 day showing some strength, held above it, but got a little extended. So it's always good to take a little profits if it's extended. So now I think you could buy a pullback. This would be support 1, and this would be support 2. So any pullback towards here and here, I'd rather see you look to be a buyer of that dip versus shorting. But again, we've come a long way, just a little extended. This would be a healthy pullback, and I still think the rally in China isn't over.
And also today in our market, we see the S&P just break the 8-day moving average. So can it hold like 21-day moving average? And also, do you think the situation right now is a little bit, the market is overbought and with some correction?
Well, everyone said in the beginning of August, you have to sell. They said the same thing in May, and here we are 60, 70 handles higher. So we do measure the strength and speed, and last time we pulled back, we held a 21-day. So again, if you look at the S&P cash, the trend is still strong. Let's just go right here. Okay, this is when the 200-day got reclaimed. This is when the 8 and 21-day got reclaimed. Here's when momentum came in. So right now we closed below the 8-day. Last time we did that, we went to the 21-day and held. So what I want to do is I want to see if in the next session or so, we hold this, just say 2170. If we do, this little rally off of the breakout will still be intact. If we were to break below this, maybe we get a retest down to where the 50 days right around here. But I have a feeling this might hold in here. Overall, though, it's been a very strong market. You just have to be very careful with your pricing.
Well, there were a lot of moves going on in the market, for example, like Apple and also Baba. But considering, the big move they have already made, can we see some viable maybe opportunities here?
Well, there's a time to be in heavy and a time to be in light. Right after earnings, Annabelle and I, we talked about buying Apple, buying options. We bought the 105s, we bought the 108s, and the stock went from 105 to 110. That was a big move. And if you look here at Apple, you'll see why we were involved. Because you had a downtrend that finally broke to the upside with strong earnings behind it and an iPhone 7 refresh coming. So here this downtrend was broken. Here you had a big gap after earnings. This was your time to get in heavy, and then now time to trim a little bit. So you go short term and take a look at it. I would say now you have a bit of a topping tail. That's why I'm not in the stock. And now we'll see if the 8-day holds. Okay, so at this point, big move from here to here, so I would take some profits and we'll see what kind of dip we get. And as far as Baba's concerned, when I went on vacation to Mexico, we talked about this nice big accumulation pattern in Baba and how it went from the do not touch list to the wow, this looks hot and great list. And it went above 80. And then this is when it traded above 85. And then we had options, 85s and 88s, because risk was premium paid for a nice move all the way up here. So short term, let's see if it can hold this spot, hold the 8-day, and if it holds that spot, I do think that it could see between 105 to 120 at some point this year. But short term, as an active trader, I'd like to see it at least stay over this 92 And starting tomorrow, we could use this 95, today's low, as your point of reference support. Market likes oil, back near 50, so that was helpful. And the miners and gold have been in a strong trend. So if you look real quickly at the GLD, it's getting to another decision spot. We talked about it being buyable, okay, when it broke above the 8 and 21 day right here. And then also, look, remember this support pulled in and then broke above here? Well, now, it's wedging again.
Okay, that's all we have for today.
Yes, and we'll have, a lot more tomorrow. The money's been rotating, so the best way to do has been following the money and just staying planned. And if you read the note every day, you'll have a plan of 20 names, 5 sectors that change here and there. You'll see what I'm long, you'll see what I'm doing, what a lot of traders and professional traders are doing out there, and you'll stay in the game.
就像 Scott 所说的，现在在各个板块当中，资金都在不同的循环着，所以说您应该要继续关注我们的节目，看一下我们之后会提供怎样的节目来为您选择一个很好的股票。好的，今天的节目就到这里，我们明天再见。